What's up guys, Ben here bringing you another video today. Normally on Wednesdays I give you an episode of Scrap Time and we're excited to get back into it with the Major 2 qualifiers. Unfortunately, Sam Octane did not have power for most of the day. I know as of recording this video he finally got online, but it's already too late. I'm gonna go ahead and record the episode tomorrow. That'll go up on my YouTube as well tomorrow. So today I'll give you my predictions video. We got a bunch of really good matches this weekend to kick off the Major 2 qualifiers. Some top teams against some other top teams, some teams making changes. We're gonna talk about it all and I'm gonna give you my predictions for this week of online matches. All right, so here you go, a 3-4-4 split this week, which is nice because I think I'm gonna go see Captain America after the flank on Friday, maybe. I don't know. It's not gonna go reviews. We'll see. Maybe I'll wait till next week. Anyway, enough yapping about random stuff. Let's get into it. A pretty good schedule, and Friday actually kicks off with a pretty awesome match. Carolina Royal Ravens versus the Los Angeles Thieves. Now, Thieves actually played Carolina to open the major, and Thieves actually took every map, bought an S&D red card, and I could kind of see it going the same way. I just don't know what to expect from Carolina as far as the respawn. Their search should still be pretty good. I don't think the map pool with these teams is going to change like dramatically. I think this is probably a lot of Hossie, potentially a S&D red card because Thieves are willing to play that against FaZe, and maybe a Skyline Hardpoint in the mix there. So I think, and I assume that the fans, are pretty. I mean, I wouldn't do 95-5. I think that's kind of nuts, but I do think that Thieves probably take this one 3-1. I won't be surprised if it goes to game 5. I think Thieves are probably the better respawn team. They obviously just got runners up at the major. Carolina got 4th. But I won't be surprised if it kind of swings the other way. And I would expect, if you want to make picks, putting a decent number on Paco. I think this week, I feel like Paco has probably been in the lab a little bit. And I think Takeover Paco might be coming here soon. I could be faded, but I think riding high on Paco this week might be a good play before they start really jacking up the lines if you're doing player props. All right, next up, Vegas versus Boston. Man, it's just hard for me to really give Vegas much here. They are making a roster change. Like if you didn't see the news a couple of days ago, Wexel's coming in for Roxas. Kicks is still kind of MIA, so they're trying another lineup here, but I just don't, bro. I just don't want to give them anything here, especially against Boston, a decent search team. I just don't see how Vegas going to match. So I'm going with the hot 3-0 in this one. And then Vancouver versus FaZe, and this one could be fun because Vancouver actually have made a roster change. Neptune is in for Charlie Hixie. We knew Charlie Hixie had gotten dropped last week, but we were not sure who the confirmed pickup was for the Vancouver Surge. Ronnie, AKC's CDL Scremental, reported Neptune. Abuza famously, I guess at this point, kind of pushed back on it. I think players should stop denying roster moves when they happen because you look like a moron. Anyway, they had picked up Neptune, which is interesting because they had Hook basically in the off season. So they basically got Diet Coke, Hook. And I think this probably helps Vancouver in the long run because he gets a player who can really like pop off, especially online because they really need the points. They need to get back in the mix here. But I just don't really see the path forward for them against FaZe. I think first match back, I'll give them one just as a honeymoon one. But I think FaZe probably get this done in 4, and I assume it's pretty lopsided here. Yeah, bro, the fan predictions are crazy. I don't think I've ever seen a 99.3.7, and now I'm curious about this Vegas Boston one. Yeah, these are some of the highest thing I've ever seen, but yeah, 3-1 is what I'm thinking. So no upsets on Friday. I think Carolina Thieves probably the one that maybe's got upset potential. I mean, first match back, I didn't think it happened, but I don't know. It's hard for me to pick Vegas or Vancouver, honestly, because we have not seen much of them in a positive fashion last split. Now, this match going to Saturday, these matches are really good. All 4 of these matches, I honestly believe, are actually kind of versions of bangers. Let's start off with Boston versus LAG, 2 teams that really need to get going and didn't really get the best placing at Major 1. LAG had to start in losers bracket, and they battled with OpTic, but like every other LAG loss this season, they just got slammed map 5. So this team has to get better going forward at S&D. 4-9 the Major 1 split is just not really going to do it for the squad. And as for Boston, they got FaZe in winners bracket to start off. I mean, we'd already seen that the week before. It ended up in the same fashion, a hot 3-0. And then they went to game 5 and lost the game 5 to Cloud9, whose search I don't think is that good. So your overall reflection on Boston is that, yeah, they might be like a decent good out in hardpoint, but the S&D and the control are a real problem right now. In control, they are 3-7 last split, and 7-10 S&D, and they got off to a pretty good start. But when Rewind came out, they're just not a good Skyline team, not a good protocol team, not a good Hossie search team. They got to expand their map pool. Now, these teams did not play each other last split. And so it's just hard for me to figure out like who I trust to win an inevitable game 5. I'm not surprised that this is 54-46. I'm going to go with LAG in this one, but this is about as coin flippy as it can get. If you're someone that likes to play map pool or total maps in a series, this is a game 5. It feels like almost guaranteed from me. I guess there's always a possibility it's 3-0-3-1, but I feel like both these teams are going to win their map picks and just go game 5. I just don't know who's going to win the game 5. Both these teams are mediocre search teams, and we don't know if they've improved over the last couple of weeks, but could be a banger to start off the day on Saturday. And then another one that I expect to be really decent, Minnesota Rocker and the Miami Heretics. Miami obviously got top 3 at their, I guess, I was going to say their major, but it really wasn't because like Toronto was hosting it, even though it was in Spain and whatever. Miami, just like a lot of these teams, good hardpoint team, 13-10, but the S&D 8-13 to end the split. Although they really start off slow, they actually came on a little bit more. And Hacienda and Red Card are kind of bread and butters for them, as well as Protocol Search. But they still are yet to find a win on Skyline, on Vault. So we'll see if they can expand their map pool a little bit in Search. But you couldn't have asked really for a much better start to the season for Miami. Like getting their best placing ever with those players, with that franchise. Like if they can continue this momentum, they could be a real tough out. But I also like every map I watch, I feel like they're going to lose somehow. And now we get to Rocker. And Rocker at the major, a bit of an interesting journey. Weren't able to make winners bracket. They were able to take out Vancouver in the first round of losers, 3-1. They lost first map, then won next 3. They then 3-1 Cloud9. So that was nice. The only map they lost was a Protocol Control that went the 5th round. And then they lost to Miami. So these teams are kind of like insta-rematching each other from, I believe that was a Saturday night match. So I think Minnesota definitely wants to get off this online split in a good fashion and really get some momentum. I think I'm going to pick Minnesota game 5. I gotta pick like one like real upset, and I really think this one is one. I just am not convinced that Miami is going to keep up this form. I'm gonna keep it a buck. I'm a bit of a Miami hater at this point. I want to see a little bit more. I think there's a game 5. That's not to say Miami can't win it. I just feel like you get back from Spain. They got to kind of figure out what else is going to motivate these guys other than like the one chance maybe they might get to ever play an event at home. Like they got to find something. This Minnesota team's been a tough out online. I think they get the first victory here. Now we get to the match of the weekend, OpTic Texas versus Atlanta FaZe. A bunch of storylines coming into this one. The first official match between these two teams this year outside of, you know, scrims and stuff like that. OpTic obviously playing their first match ever with Pred since they dropped him and picked him back up. OpTic has not gotten a lot of practice this week. FaZe will play the match already, and they're coming off obviously winning Major 1 where OpTic Texas got top 8. Looking at the fan predictions, not surprised that you know, people have FaZe 63-36 in this fashion. FaZe have kind of dominated this matchup for the most part last year. And I think a lot of that was off of really two things. One, I think FaZe had sort of the better hardpoint map pool against OpTic last year. I believe they were 9-4 against them in the 7 matches they played, but the control was the real difference maker. OpTic just could not find a way to go at FaZe and control. And it might be a similar problem this year. FaZe's control has not been as dominant this year, but they've had some really good wins on Protocol. Their Hossie looks good. And I think FaZe is going to get rid of Vault, which seems to be OpTic's best control map. So I think OpTic, do I take OpTic or Pred on like a Hossie with a fast-paced FaZe that ran 4 subs and they were winning those maps? I don't know. And I think that could be the real difference maker. I want to say a game 5, but OpTic with a little bit less practice and playing their first match with Pred, I could see them taking map 1 and this kind of playing out like EWC where FaZe then take the next 3 and close it out in 4. And if it goes game 5, I think I probably got FaZe just because they have the existing S&D chemistry. But honestly, I won't be surprised if OpTic just kind of honeymoon win this and FaZe go 1-1. I think there's a lot of outcomes that can play out in this. And it could be a fun one. It could also be kind of a snooze if FaZe are sort of keeping this crazy record, potentially record winning streak going, breaking their own record as far as that goes, and going 2-0 in the week. And I'm going to predict that, but again, I won't be surprised if OpTic upsets. And then last, we got Toronto versus Cloud9, a big major cycle coming up for both these teams. Toronto was supremely disappointing major. Like, you know, I think with the soft schedule that Toronto had, they ended up kind of unable to beat these better S&D Protocol teams, and it kind of killed their map pool sort of going into this major where they need to expand sort of their options against these top teams that are good Hossie teams and good protocol teams. Because those are bread and butters for Toronto against like your Minnesotas and your Falcons and Vancouvers of the world. But against these better teams, like it's just going to be hard to attack them on that. And the teams are just going to not play you on Skyline Hardpoint. So, that's interesting for Toronto. Can they really prove to the world that, they are a top 4 team and they aren't just going to kind of fluctuate in this sort of bucket of what we expect, like top 6 teams to sort of rotate in that 3rd and 4th spot. Well, probably 4th spot, because honestly, OpTic's going to rebound, I think, at this event. And as for Cloud9, like they're sitting on the edge of a roster change. Like I'm going to keep it a buck. I really think a slow start to the stage requires them to drop one of their ARs. Or maybe they swap out one of their subs for a Hook. I don't know. That'd be interesting. But I think the biggest problem for Cloud9, hardpoint map pool, not very good. And then on the control, they just have had a tough time on Vault. Although they're 3-2 on protocol and Hacienda. So, they maybe just don't play Vault. S&D I'm also looking at too. They've choked a bunch of S&E maps. And the only S&E map they seem super comfortable on is Skyline. They played a lot of Vaults and lost that. They played a bunch of red cards and lost that. And they played some Hossies and kind of trolled that. So S&E map pool needs to be expanded. I'm going to go with a Toronto. We're going to go with Toronto Game 5. Toronto's played a lot of Game 5s, and I can see this playing out like a bunch of Toronto series we've seen. This is a la like Thieves last year, where they go up 2-0 and just kind of let a team come back a little bit in it. Or they just kind of fight back at the end. But either way, I trust Toronto to close out a Game 5 more than I do Cloud9. I would like to see Toronto win this one clean, but I just can't. I can't do that until I see a little bit more from them. And Cloud9, they've got a kind of a tricky week. We're going to get to their second match on Sunday, but I could definitely see them going 0-2. So yeah, Saturday's a banger. But let's move on to Sunday. First off, we got Thieves versus the Vegas Falcons, and I'm going to use one of my double points on this. This is a hot 3-0 done in 20 minutes. We don't really need to talk too much about this one. And I seen the predictions. Yeah, that's about as crazy as it gets. Toronto and Carolina. This one could be really, really fun. And Toronto did play Carolina at the major. Carolina actually went up 2-0 in the series. Then Toronto battled back, and then Carolina beat them on a protocol S&D. I don't think the map pool is going to change all too much in this one. Maybe we don't get a vault control in this one, but I feel like it's still going to be protocol red card. I think the hard points are probably very similar. I think it's still a Game 5, and I just trust Carolina more than I do in Toronto and S&D, but I won't be surprised if it swings the other way, because if Toronto has improved on some of their issues in last week, like they're going to give Carolina a real battle, and Carolina's S&D. The way they've been winning some of these searches, they've been kind of going down at the beginning of the maps and then kind of battling back. You can only do that so often before, you kind of get your hand burned. So let's see if they can get off to a hotter start on these maps, or if someone like Toronto just kind of plan A's their way to a dominant 6-2 or 6-3 on S&D. But this one could low-key be the best match of the weekend, just FYI. I mean, there's a bunch of them that are like that, but I think this one in particular could be very close. Now, this is a fun one. Cloud9 versus Vancouver Surge. Obviously, we talked about Vancouver's changes, and if I expect Cloud9 to lose to Toronto, the 0-2 could be sort of a problem for Cloud9. These teams played in January, and Cloud9 3-0'd them. And even with Neptune, I think I'm going to take Cloud9 3-1 in this one. There's a lot of range outcomes in this one, and it's hard for me to really predict either team, especially Vancouver, in their form coming in. So it's tough for me to predict 0-2. It's like I might talk myself into maybe actually picking Vancouver in this one. Nah, I'm picking them to go 0-2. I'm going to be a hater, and I'm going to stick to my guns on this one, but this one's pretty coin flippy, and I won't be surprised if it's like Game 5. We'll give it a Game 5. We won't be surprised if it's a Game 5 either way. All right, and then following Minnesota Rocker versus OpTic Texas, I expect, OpTic to be pretty favored in this one, although Minnesota, I think could potentially beat OpTic. I just think there's a little bit of a skill diff situation in this one, and I think OpTic will learn a little bit of lessons from the FaZe match. I think OpTic's, map pool is probably a little bit better, or should be better with Pred than Minnesota's, and this is the kind of series where Minnesota sort of wilters a little bit. And I think it'd be a tough start for Minnesota if they were to lose to Miami and lose to OpTic, but that's kind of a tough draw on the schedule. But I got OpTic clutching up this one. So let me know in the comments what you guys thought of the video. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe for more. And as always, guys, we'll see you on the next one.